It's all a story. You know what you must do. And you're but one part in it.
Pretenders raise new riders against us. I need you to fly with Dreamfyre to battle. We will answer outrage with outrage.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. House the Dragon just introduced a bunch of new dragons and dragon seeds. All of them have a lot of really cool history and lore behind them that the show hinted at, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the episodes. I'll start doing more Season 3 videos soon, too. Recently on the show, we've gotten 4 dragons that we either have not seen for a long time, or in some cases, like Silverwing in the Sheepstealer, had never seen before in live action, only referenced. Or in the case of the Sheepstealer, the characters haven't even called it the Sheepstealer yet. They've only referred to it as a wild dragon. It's one of the 3 wild dragons that exist right now in the timeline. For those of you asking, I do not think we're going to see the Cannibal or Grey Ghost till a potential future season. The way that Ryan Condal, the showrunner, talks about it, they're kind of slow rolling out all their dragons. Like they only just teased Daeron's dragon Tessarion and little baby Stormcloud, Aegon the Younger's dragon, still tiny little baby dragon. And while they've been introducing some of the major dragon seeds from the books, as the show has done in the past, they provide a bunch of new lore and history behind the characters that was not in the books originally. Probably the most interesting bit of new history that they've revealed is that Hugh Hammer, who's now writing Vermithor, is the grandson of King Jaehaerys, who previously was Vermithor's only rider. Vermithor was hatched from a dragon egg that was put in Jaehaerys' crib when he was a baby, so he's had no other rider since Jaehaerys died. He's just been living in the dragon mod this whole time, like Silverwing. Silverwing was Queen Alysanne's dragon, Jaehaerys' queen, who was also his sister wife. They were the son and daughter of King Aenys, who was the son of Aegon the Conqueror. Silverwing was also hatched from a dragon egg that was put in Alysanne's crib when she was a baby as well, too. Alysanne died a couple years after Jaehaerys, and nobody rode Silverwing or tried to ride Silverwing after that. So for about the past 30 years or so, nobody has ridden Vermithor or Silverwing. They even made it seem like Silverwing has been taking a nap for the past 30 years. Laying a couple dragon eggs in that time period too. During the opening scene tapestry, they've actually been showing us scenes of King Jaehaerys and Alysanne and their dragons, Vermithor and Silverwing, as you see Maegor dying on the Iron Throne, because he essentially usurped the throne, killing some of Aenys' children, Jaehaerys' brothers. Both Hugh Hammer and Ulf White's backstories are ironic. Ulf White revealed that his father was Baelon the Brave, Daemon and Viserys' father, likely conceived after their mother had died. The ironic twist, though, is that Baelon was viewed as this very virtuous person, so the idea that he slept around is kind of crazy, but it's likely that it happened after his wife had died. The reason why I think Hugh Hammer's backstory is a little bit more interesting, even more ironic, is because of the circumstances behind what happened to his mother. He revealed his mother was a Targaryen princess, so that's where he got his Targaryen blood, from his mother's side. She was the sister of Viserys and Daemon's father, who was Baelon the Brave that I just mentioned. And even though Hugh Hammer doesn't really go into great detail about what happened to his mother and the circumstances of how she wound up going from the Red Keep to becoming a madam in a brothel in King's Landing, the books actually fill in a lot of these details. Jaehaerys and Queen Alysanne had 13 children. That is a whole lot of children. Given Jaehaerys' personality, Alysanne's personality, I think it's safe to say that they didn't have any bastard children, like he wasn't sleeping around on Queen Alysanne. The two of them are always depicted as being really big sticklers for following the rules, and even though their relationship cooled later in their old age, for most of their life, they're depicted as being very happily married. And even though everyone on the show so far that's been referencing him has referred to Jaehaerys as being the wisest, most just king in the history of the Targaryen family, the realm loves him. Like he's literally referred to as Jaehaerys the Wise, the Conciliator. His whole thing was bringing peace to the realm and helping the small folk.
Their queen wears the crown of my grandsire, Jaehaerys the Conciliator, the wisest of Targaryen kings whose reign outlasted every other.
He's also meant to be kind of a tragic figure in that all of his children met unfortunate ends or through circumstance took themselves out of the line of succession. So despite the fact that he and Queen Alysanne bred like rabbits, none of their immediate children were able to take the Iron Throne or died before they were able to try. Viserys and Rhaenys, for example, at the Great Council were his grandchildren. This is the whole reason why they had to hold a Great Council to decide who would become the next king. Some of his children met more unfortunate ends than others. This is where we get to Hugh Hammer's mother. She's one of the saddest stories. It's a really good example of how the history books that are written by maesters and the stories that are told by people like Rhaenys, for example, who spoke about Jaehaerys being very wise, leave out a lot of the bad things that he also did too. And probably the worst thing about Jaehaerys is that even though he was viewed as a great king by the entire realm, like the small folk, the great lords all loved him, he was a terrible father. Like the worst dad you could possibly imagine. Also compounding this is the fact that he had so many children, so of course there's no way that he could pay attention to all of them, so a lot of his children became very neglected. It's kind of like Viserys and the new children that he had with Alicent, Aegon, Aemond, Daeron. My guess is that Helaena was probably Viserys' favorite of Alicent's children, just because she was such a nerd, just like he was. But a lot of those daddy never loved me vibes you get from Aegon during season 1 and season 2, that's what Jaehaerys' relationship was like with pretty much all of his children. Everybody loved him a lot except for most of his children. Most of his daughters he treated like property to either be married off, or in one case, one became a septa, so wasn't really able to marry her off. Expecting them to behave a lot of the way that you saw Alicent behaving when Alicent was much younger, doing everything that she was told to do, like her father, King Viserys, sacrificing everything about her life to the people that told her what to do. And based on the couple really big scandals that were recorded by maesters inside Jaehaerys' family, it's likely that Hugh Hammer's mother was Sarah Targaryen, the younger sister of Baelon the Brave. She was born one of the later children in this line of 13 different children. To make a comparison to current characters on the show right now, Sarah's personality was more like that of young Rhaenyra, not really being so hot on following the rules of being a royal princess of House Targaryen. She was very mischievous, she had a good relationship with her brothers, but her sisters absolutely hated her to various degrees, for the same reason that Alicent hated Rhaenyra when they were younger, breaking all these rules. Like, how dare you not do what is expected of you? So you can kind of imagine the direction this is going. You have a little girl who's acting a little bit more like Rhaenyra did when she was younger, ignored by her father, infinite money, and infinite amounts of free time. So of course she gets up to all kinds of trouble. Around court, she would joke about wanting to get married to the Prince of Dorne. Remember, Dorne had not become part of the Seven Kingdoms yet. They were still unconquered, so it was a big thorn in the crown's side. She also said that she wanted to marry the king beyond the wall. There was a king beyond the wall during this era. Basically telling all the kind of off-color jokes, not acting like a princess is supposed to act in court. Pissing off Jaehaerys and Queen Alysanne. More young Rhaenyra parallels here too. It was suspected that Sarah started to get it on with her closest male friends at court at a young age. You have to imagine Rhaenyra getting it on with Criston Cole, more vibes like that. She starts to get in more and more trouble, and eventually Jaehaerys gets really pissed off at her, questioning whether or not she's given her quote-unquote maidenhead to one of these male friends of hers. This is where the TV show starts to change the backstory for Hugh Hammer's mother Sarah and the circumstances of his birth. So the books say that things went on a little bit longer. Jaehaerys punished her for getting deflowered by some of these other men, and she snuck out, tried to steal a dragon from the dragon pit to escape somewhere else. He forced her to join the Silent Sisters, be trained by the Faith of the Seven for about a year, which she hated. She ran away from that, but in the books, it says that she went to the east and actually set up shop at a brothel there, became a very powerful madam, and eventually her bastards came back to the Great Council of 101 AC to assert their claim to the Iron Throne. And supposedly Jaehaerys did not consider their claim and had disowned her completely, saying that she'd always been a whore. So you have to imagine if Viserys had believed all the rumors about Rhaenyra sleeping around when she was younger, getting up to all kinds of no good. Imagine if he disowned her when that happened. That's basically what happened to Sarah. On the show, what they've done, though, is they've seemed to explain that Sarah was just outright disowned by Jaehaerys, who kicked her out of the Red Keep, and she immediately went to Flea Bottom and set up shop there as a madam at a brothel. Hugh Hammer said that men would pay vastly greater sums of money to sleep with a royal princess, like a really highborn woman, so she would have been one of the more powerful girls working in Flea Bottom. But eventually Hugh Hammer is born out of that with no real knowledge of who his father was. They didn't reveal this on the show, and I don't expect them to do this ever, but if you think about it, if she was one of the more expensive women, there's only like a certain class of person living in King's Landing who could afford an experience like that. So Hugh Hammer's father was either a merchant that was just very rich, or another member of one of the great houses that just had a lot of money to spend and was having a good time around Flea Bottom. The greater irony with Hugh Hammer now in present day, though, is that the grandson who Jaehaerys didn't care about and the mother who he treated terribly disowning for what was a relatively minor infraction is now riding his former dragon. So haha, take that, Jaehaerys. One of the reasons why Vermithor might have cozied up to Hugh Hammer so quickly is because he probably sensed that he was Jaehaerys' grandson, his former rider. Like, oh, you smell like my former rider, why don't we be friends? There's actually some more interesting lore about Silverwing, too, and Queen Alysanne. The books talk about her trying to fly Silverwing north of the Wall, and it ending kind of badly. When they were younger, Jaehaerys and Alysanne flew 6 of their dragons to Winterfell to visit the Starks of that period. At the time, I think it was Brandon Stark that would have been the Lord of Winterfell, just based on the timeline. He would be like Cregan Stark's great-great-great-grandfather many times removed. While they were there, Alysanne got bored and decided to fly Silverwing to the Wall to see what was north of the Wall, like just for fun. But when she tried to fly beyond the Wall 3 times, Silverwing turned back and would not cross. The reason why is likely because the dragon sensed the power of the Night King, the White Walkers, and was just afraid, like a primal dragon fear. Getting real bad vibes coming from the woods north of the Wall. Nope, not going there, not gonna do it. At the time, Alysanne had no idea what was going on with Silverwing. Like, she had no context for this experience. It was the first time she'd ever refused any of Alysanne's commands, so she was so shaken by the experience that when she landed Silverwing at Castle Black and started talking to the Night's Watch, the Lord Commander at the time, she pretended like she meant to do this. Like, I didn't want to go beyond the Wall. Recently, a lot of people have also been asking why Daenerys' dragons did go beyond the Wall. It's likely a combination of magic, but also the TV show, Game of Thrones TV show, just making story up that was not in the original books. So if it wasn't clear, when Daenerys' dragons flew north of the Wall, that was taken from episodes that were far beyond the original book story that they were adapting. All the book material that Game of Thrones adapted ended around season 5. When they got to season 6, the show started to have to make up most of its plot because George R. R. Martin had not written that yet. Still is not finished writing a lot of that stuff. So in the books, Daenerys' dragons never tried to fly north of the Wall, and the whole reason why they went north of the Wall, Jon Snow's band trying to capture the White Walker and bring it back to King's Landing, that's also not something from the books. It's just something that the show made up. The other part of that equation, too, is that the whole plot of the Night King turning Viserion into a white dragon is also not from the books. Unknown if that will also wind up happening when we get to the final book, Dream of Spring. The other really cool bit of lore, too, is that Vermithor and Silverwing are the parents of a lot of the dragons that are on the show right now, too. Their children are Syrax, Rhaenyra's dragon, Seasmoke, Vermax, Arrax, Tyraxes, and Stormcloud. Basically, they're the parents of all of Rhaenyra's children's dragons. Keep it in the family, so to speak. That's also why Syrax's head looks a little bit like Silverwing's head, but Silverwing is much older and much bigger. The show has actually upgraded a lot of their visual effects. They did a good job of differentiating the dragons and giving them very distinct looks. For instance, Vermithor has the big bushy grandpa beard of horns around his mouth because he is an old grandpa dragon. Silverwing also kind of looks like she's wearing a giant crown on her head too. She was the dragon of the queen, and she has this very queenly looking appearance to her. There are a couple mom and grandma dragons on the show. Dreamfyre is like the other big one, Helena's current dragon, one of the older dragons that's also given birth to a lot of dragons that are on the show right now. Daemon's dragon is a good example. Caraxes was hatched from one of Dreamfyre's clutches. And because the showrunner just clarified the whole dragon eggs question from a couple episodes ago this season, the current book lore is still canon that Daenerys' dragon eggs came from Dreamfyre's clutch of eggs. They were stolen much earlier in the timeline, long before the people on the show were born. So like right now when the Dance of the Dragons is happening, Daenerys' dragon eggs have been passed around in the East for a long time and probably already petrified. The whole reason why Daenerys' dragon eggs were able to hatch is because of the blood magic sacrifice at the end of season 1. They'd been petrified before that, so they were good for nothing other than like decorations up to that point. But I am sure as we get on with the show into like season 3, season 4, they'll start referencing the original show, Daenerys, the Long Night, the White Walkers, the Night King, all that stuff more and more. So as we get more of those Easter eggs and connections between all the different dragons as well too, of course I'll talk about those in my videos. There's a couple other bonus videos I have planned before the finale, so post all your video requests and questions in the comments below and I'll try to add them to those videos. Everybody click here for my episode 8 video and click here for all my other House of the Dragon episodes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.